Anthony Yarde makes his record 16-0 with 15 KOs, with a 7th round TKO over Dariusz Sek. Sek, a tall, lanky southpaw with no power, but decent foot speed, I suppose, and decent foot movement. He also proved to have a good chin. He was down in the first round, but I think a lot of that was to do with balance rather than him being seriously hurt. He skipped around the ring. Anthony Yarde marauded forward, throwing single right hands, left hooks, body shots, etc., and gradually broke Dariusz Sek down over the course of 7 rounds. I think in the 5th or 6th round, Yarde was starting to look a little tired to me. Even though the fight wasn't being fought at a monstrous pace, and Yarde hadn't thrown an enormous amount of punches, Yarde is very, very muscular, very heavily muscle-bound, some people might even say. Kind of reminds me of Jean Pascal, a bigger version of Jean Pascal. And Pascal was a guy who had notoriously poor stamina. You know, Pascal was very low volume because of the fact that his bulky muscles would fill up with lactic acid quite quickly in a fight. So he really had to pace himself, Jean Pascal, and was notoriously low volume. Will Anthony Yarde be the same? I'm wondering, because he really wasn't in any danger against Dariusz Sek. The fight was fought at a relatively slow pace. And yeah, Yarde looked like he was blowing after 4 or 5 rounds. And he did unleash some very nice, fast combinations of punches in spurts. But other than that, it was one-paced. And you do wonder, maybe the way to beat an Anthony Yarde, if you're looking at him as a potential opponent, is to try and outwork him or force him to work at a higher pace than he wants to. However, that comes at great risk because Anthony Yarde does have very nice smooth technique. He's got very good punch variety, clearly has tremendous punching power and tremendous hand speed. When he decides to actually step on the gas and let his hands go, the hand speed is blistering. When he's pot shotting, the hand speed doesn't always look that impressive, but when he decides to start letting go with the combinations, it is lightning quick. So if you're going to try and pressure Anthony Yarde and make him work harder than he wants to work, you're going to have to walk through fire before you get to that point that you want to get to, right? So it's going to take somebody tough. It's going to take someone with a good defense to be able to exploit a potential suspect gas tank with Anthony Yarde. I say it's potential. I'm not saying he has a suspect gas tank. 2 different things. But nonetheless, he dealt with Dariusz Sek with relative ease. He won every single round and got rid of him in the 7th. The referee called it off, and I think the referee did a good job in calling it off. Tunde Ajayi, his own trainer in the corner a couple of rounds earlier, told him to step on the gas. He said, "Nah, you need to get this guy out of here now." And Anthony Yarde did. I think in the 6th, he tried to step on the gas, but it didn't quite work. Then in the 7th, he stepped on the gas again, and it did work this time. So, yeah, he did what he had to do to move to 16-0. He's now fought a southpaw. Tunde Ajayi had said in the past that he wanted Yarde to face a southpaw. He wanted him to face every single style before he steps him up to the next level. So let's see what happens, people. I've made several videos about Anthony Yarde and Tunde Ajayi, and at this point I'm just going to leave them to it and see if Tunde's process works. I do think Yarde is a precocious talent. I can't emphasize that enough. His ability to pick up the techniques that he has so early on in his professional career and so early on in his boxing career in general. He only had 11 or 12 amateur fights, and they were fought at a relatively low level in the amateurs. Now he's had 16 pro fights. To have the kind of style that he has and the technique that he has with such little experience and the poise and being so relaxed, it's impressive. And he's very, very athletically gifted. Tremendous punching power, a huge light heavyweight, extremely fast hands. You know, I like what I see from Anthony Yarde from an offensive point of view. Some people have criticized him for being like a Mayweather clone or a Broner clone or all this kind of stuff. Look, whatever works for you is what works for you. Yeah? What Anthony Yarde decides to take from certain fighters is working for him. I don't think Anthony Yarde would be better off with a different style, to be honest with you. I think this is the best style for him. Yeah? Just because he's taken certain things from Mayweather, so what? If it works, it works. It doesn't mean he's going to be as good as Mayweather, but if it works for him, it works. Mayweather took certain things from other fighters. He took certain things from his uncle Roger and from his dad Floyd Sr., and they took certain things from other fighters. You know, Mayweather also took things from James Toney. See, this is the natural progression in boxing. You take things from different fighters and you develop your own style. You don't try and be a clone of somebody else, but you do take certain elements from certain fighters. Mike Tyson, he said that he took a lot of elements of his style from Roberto Duran. Now, he was obviously trained by Costamado, but he said many times Duran was one of his favorite fighters growing up. He actually went and saw Roberto Duran fight against Davey Moore. He snuck in, I believe. He wasn't supposed to be in there. He snuck in and he saw Duran fight Davey Moore, and he said he would be in the ring for his own fights trying to emulate things that Roberto Duran did. Muhammad Ali famously patterned his whole style on Sugar Ray Robinson. You know, so sometimes when you copy someone else's style, it can turn out to be a disaster. But other times, you can be quite effective with it. You know, it's just about finding a style that works well for you. It might be somebody else's style. And you base your style on their style, but incorporate certain other things into it as well. So, I don't see the issue with Anthony Yarde fighting the way that he does. My questions about him are, what's his stamina like, and how's his chin going to hold up? And also, can he pass a gut check? My questions of Anthony Yarde are really nothing to do with his technique. They're more to do with, or not much to do with his technique. They're more to do with the stamina, the chin, and the heart. That's what I am wondering about. So, anyway, let me know what you felt about Anthony Yarde's performance against Dariusz Sek in the comment section below. Alright, this happened, I'm out.